So what we want to do is you get to know one another, because this is your community. And it's not just enough for you to do what you need to do for your child. You have to do what you need to do for your community, because you live in a community. Your children live in a community. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so there used to be a time where parents would work together. Little Johnny got off task. You pick up the phone, somebody else pick up the phone. Next thing you know, we tag teaming, and the community was helping to support and raise the children. So let me tell you what's happening here. What I want you to understand before I even get started is that you've got to look at your baby. What's your baby name? Kyla. And you got to see your baby being any and everything that they put their mind to. In other words, what I want you to put in your head right now, because the most powerful piece of this conversation, I'm going to give you strategies and I'm going to talk you through some things, but the most powerful piece that I can give you is the understanding and belief that you are raising a child that may cure cancer. You're raising a child that may be the next president. Are you with me? Are you hearing me? So if you would just entertain Dr. Tanner for just 1 second and just close your eyes and imagine your son, your daughter. If something comes to mind, what's the worst disease that you think of? Like for me, it's colon cancer. It took my mother. It's taken different family members. But just think in your head, just real quick. In fact, blurt it out. What is the cure? What is the worst disease that you can think of that has been the most detrimental to humanity? What? Yell it out. Cancer. Diabetes. Heart attack. Heart disease. AIDS. Are you with me? Now I want you to take all of those, see your baby, see your child as the person creating the cure for each one of those diseases. Just close your eyes. See it. You got to see this, because let me tell you what's going to happen. If you don't see it, it'll be hard to achieve this. But you've got to see it. Let me tell you why I'm being extra with the believe. Because sometimes we do not truly believe that the kids that we're raising can be those and accomplish those kinds of things. Because if we really believe that, come here, young man. If we really believe that this young man would be the next president of the United States, if we really believe that, we would be teaching, we would be making sure homework is done, we would be making sure he got to school on time. Are you with me? Because we realize we are raising the next president of the United States. Now hold your head up and let them know that if you say it with me. If I choose. No, you got to say it like you really mean it. If I choose to be president. That will happen. Did you hear that? Now, thank you. Give him a big round of applause. We got something for him too. Go. The reason this is important because so often our belief is not strong enough and our communication becomes something that looks different. It's like, oh, I hope my children are successful versus my child will be successful. And the reason that I'm spending this time here is because it's not normal. People don't always realize and see what I just shared. And that's why I want to challenge you today to recognize and accept and embrace that you are raising the leaders of tomorrow. And if they're going to be leaders, they have to be here. Are you with me? I did some work where I looked at extraordinary leaders, and there are 5 things that happened. 1, they believed. See, A Martin Luther King saw a Barack Obama during a time when no one else saw that as possible. Are you with me? And because he saw it, he communicated with power. His communication wasn't, I hope, it was, it will. Gandhi said, free India. It wasn't, I hope India will be free. I hope my child will make it. That's a different kind of communication that begins to create a transformation in you, which is where the behavior changes. And that's where people make sure their kids' homework is completed. They make sure things that they're watching, the TV gets turned off. That's where we begin to say, you know what, son? You can't participate in that because you're going to be president. Are you with me? See, this is a belief system. And that's when you begin to draw other people in. The fourth thing was you create this enrolling where people come on board. And the last one is you let go of the past. The past is too heavy to carry. And the reason I'm saying that is because sometimes people don't trust the school. But let me tell you something. The school wins no award by failing your child. In other words, people start looking for a job. In other words, there's no medal for your child not excelling. Are you with me? So they want your child to be successful. The history has been that for a long time, that has not been the case, and there's a belief and struggle around that piece. But today I want you to understand and be with me on this. Children will become what you create for them and make them believe that they will become. You know, when they're young, you tell them whatever you want to tell them. You know, a big man coming down a chimney, he's, real. The Easter Bunny, everything is, this is where you build and make deposits into their self-esteem. Make them see and believe what you tell them. This is an example of never telling a child that they're stupid, even when they do things that they shouldn't do. You say things like, you're too smart to do something like that. Your problem-solving skills are way too high for you to have made that kind of decision. Are you making sense? Trust is very important. It's a powerful piece. You can't build a partnership in the absence of trust. And that's why I wanted to take the time to tell you that the school doesn't benefit from your child not being successful. When they send something home, you have to trust that they're really sending it home because they need you to address the issue. Now, that doesn't mean that you should pretend that a concern that you're having isn't real, but it means you have to recognize that our minds will look for the evidence to support our view. Anybody ever got a new car in here? Raise your hand. You know, have you ever noticed when you get your new car, all of a sudden you start seeing it everywhere you go? You call down and say, did production go up? Is there no production didn't go up? The only thing happened is your mind started looking for the evidence to support your view. So if you have a view that the school doesn't have my child's best interest at heart, because there's some historical, then your mind is going to look for that. Are you with me? Some of y'all, somebody messed around on you when they were in first grade, and you still got distrust issues over something that happened in first grade. Are you with me? We carry our distrust into the present. And the problem with that is the weight of the past is just way too heavy. It makes it way too heavy to carry. Am I making sense? Okay. The third chapter deals with understanding parenting through difficult times. 73% of parents, children 3 and under, do not live with their biological parents. That's almost 3 out of 4. One of the things I share with schools is to understand the importance of sharing with both parents, because a lot of our kids live in multiple homes. Or they're with grandparents, or they're with other individuals. Am I making sense? I also talk about the importance of father involvement. Do you understand fathers? And that's why I want all my fathers stand up here. All my fathers stand up. All my dads, come on. Now, moms, you know we love y'all, but I want to take this moment for our fathers, because 85% of dropouts say their dad was limitedly involved in their life. Over 88% of kids who end up incarcerated say dad was not involved. So I want you to understand, fathers, that your role is important. Sometimes you can be in the house and not in the house. You understand what I'm saying? Your presence is so important. So thank you so much for being here. Give them a big round of applause. All right, sit down, dads. Now, moms, we don't even have to talk about it. We understand that ain't nothing like our mama, all right? Mamas are, it just goes without saying. So there's much love there, but we want to continue to challenge our dads to be involved. So in the book, I talk about that piece as well. The 4th chapter deals with understanding high-stake tests, and then the 5th deals with how to produce an academically successful child. So the first thing I want to tell you is you got to get your children's attention, all right? If you want to help your children be successful, the first thing, everybody say the first thing. Is you got to get their attention. It might be the cell phone. There's 101 different things, and children are all different. But whatever it is, you've got to get their attention. And then once you get their attention, you got to speak the language that make them want to listen. That language is to speak with a clear and firm voice. Say it with a single word. In other words, you don't need to say, every single time you get up from the table, I have to tell you the same thing over and over. Put your chair under the table, get your plate, put it in the trash, take it, rinse it off, put it in the dishwasher. All you have to do is say table. Because sometimes people start tuning you out. And then all that does is just make some of you even more and more upset. Single word. Tip number 2 here. When you have a goal, have them write it down. Be very specific. Make the goals measurable. If you want your child to be, for example, to improve their reading grade and their math grade, you say, okay, in 3 weeks, we're going to check and find your GPA. We're going to talk about it, because here's the steps right here. You make a conscious decision. You decide when you're going to look at that grade. You plan how you're going to do it. Every day, we're going to spend 15 extra minutes. Commit to someone else you're going to do it. We're going to commit Child, Jonathan, Susan, to make sure that grade goes from a B to an A. And then you make a future appointment. When this is going to be done, it goes up 95. By the way, for some of you that are struggling to lose weight, this same model works with that too. All right, tip number 3. Everybody say tip number 3. All right, speak the language of encouragement, discuss results. Great work on the science quiz. You got an A. Now note that I said great work on the science quiz. That was very intentional. Great work on the science quiz. So what you're really doing there is you're emphasizing it was your effort that resulted in an outcome. Am I making sense? It's not, oh, you did good. It's your effort created an outcome of an A on the quiz. Am I making sense? Now, why that is important is because you're building children's self-concept, their self-esteem, and you want them to feel like it's in their control to achieve these goals. This is how you get the child to become a champion, a leader among leaders. You have to help them believe that they can. And so you're giving them tidbits to help them strengthen that mindset that is all within my control. Am I making sense? Are you with me? So, effort and progress. Look at that paper. I can tell you've spent a lot of time on it. You must feel good to know you worked so hard. Again, what you're building is the resiliency in a child. You're helping them understand that when they try hard, great things happen. You ever been around people? Listen, have any of you ever been around people always talking about, oh, my life is so bad. They just don't like me. This is the 5th time they've been fired. Every single child is in trouble. Are you with me? They don't ever look at themselves. You know why? Because somewhere along that journey, someone didn't make the kind of deposits to build their self-esteem to the point where they understand they control. Even if I fail because I chose to fail. You see the difference? I didn't choose because I failed because I didn't do my best. Now I need to make sure I do. You see the difference? It puts you out of that victim mode. It's like I control my destiny. Am I making sense? I used to tell them on the court, you didn't score on me, I let you score. All right, this is a powerful piece, all right? And I really, really want you to get this piece, all right? Because it builds that resiliency. You ever wonder how one kid, same kid, one goes on to college, grew up in the same neighborhood, the other one goes to prison, and you start talking to them, and what happens is they didn't respond to the obstacles the same way. So part of what I'm trying to get you to get present to is how do you build critical thinking and how do you build self-esteem where people feel it is within their ability to control the outcomes of their life. I can give you strategies for a month, but if you don't believe that your child will be the next president, that your child has the capacity to be the next medical doctor that cures cancer, none of what I'm talking about is going to matter because it's really about your belief. The power is in your belief. See, your belief begins to communicate. It creates a transformation in you, which means, again, I want to say it again. When you believe your child is going to be president, you don't bring them to school late. When you believe your child is going to be the next doctor, you don't let them miss class. When you believe your child's going to create the next invention that's going to change the face of America, there is no way that they fail STAR because you too much on their behind making sure they're clear and that the expectation is clear that you are a Tanner. In my house, we got what they call a Tanner Manifesto. That means what it means to be a Tanner. And every day I speak these words of courage, stand up for what's right. You're an achiever. You are a person and you speak it. In fact, put it on your wall and just put your name there. But the most important thing is you've got to really see it. And it's hard because other people may not see what you see. And sometimes to be flat with you, can we talk today? Sometimes it's hard for us to even see it, if I'm real. Are you with me? But you've got to continue to challenge your thoughts, your dispositions, because you will and can create for your child whatever you see as possible. When you're tired, are you at your best? Okay. Now, some of you, when you've been up all night and somebody try to talk to you, you will cuss them out. Am I right? So children the same way. They got to go to bed. They need a bedtime. They can't be up at 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock on a school night. Let's talk about the next is the intellectual. That is their intellect. When you're on your job and a new manager come in and they decide they want to do things different and no one gave you any training, are you at your best? Same with our kids. They've got to constantly be stretching this brain. Psychological is the third. When you're not sure if you're going to have a job tomorrow, is there an impact there? Yes. We've got to make sure we build our kids' self-esteem. Psychologically, making them realize that they are champions, that they are, what's your last name? Give me a last name. You are McClendon. And look, we second place is the first loser. We just keep it real. So you've got to develop a mindset that looks different. The environment is the fourth piece. The environment deals with an environment conducive for learning. People, let me ask you something. If you're on your job and you're trying to work and somebody's on there playing the music and they're trying to get you to answer the phone, are you at your best? Hello? The kids can't watch TV, iPad, iPhone, all of that while they are studying. Am I making sense? Turn all that stuff off so they can focus on what you say you believe. Let me tell you something. When you tell me you believe, raise your hand if you believe in your children. Wait a minute now. I'm going to ask that question again. Raise your hand if you believe in your child. All right, now that's a little better. Now, let me ask you this. Do you prefer someone to show you they love you or tell you they love you? Now, raise your hand if you're from Missouri. Show me. That's what I need from you this year. I need to show me you believe in your children. Show me you are committed by making sure you do your part. Even if you don't understand all the work that comes in the door, you can pick up a phone, you can call and talk to the teacher, you can make sure the child is here on time, make sure if there's resources available that you get plugged in, because you're raising the next president. Hello? And you got to take this on that this is your child. So if they fail, you fail. Ooh, just got quiet in here. But when you have that kind of ownership, it's power. Because now you're saying, no, baby, you can't, no. It don't roll like you going to have to do your work and get it done right. So the last piece is social development. Let me tell you, one of the things I deal with in Houston all the time, I don't know where it's come from, but we've got these groups of people not knowing how to deal with one another. Hispanics, added with African Americans and all of this kind of craziness. Let me tell you something. We are in a place in history where if we don't collectively learn how to put our differences aside and strive for excellence, we will all fail. Because it's not just no more the kid next to you. You competing against the kid across that ocean. Hello? And it's just crazy. Some of the same struggles, and I keep hearing people not getting. You sitting there we're fighting over crumbs, and the pie is way up here, and in the midst of all of the fighting over the crumbs, the real issues are not being dealt with. Hello? We've got to come together as a community. And that's what made our communities powerful in the past, is that everybody was plugged in. So teach your children, you don't solve problems with these. You go to jail with these. Are you with me? You solve problems with your head, communication. I want you to hear me on this. I want you to commit to having your child here on time. Raise your hand if you will make sure your child is here on time. Okay, that's integrity right there. Number 2, unless it is dire emergency, children don't miss school. Raise your hand if you're with me on that. Number 3, you will make sure your child completes their homework. And if you don't understand, you will email, call, or do whatever you need. Even if you don't speak English, they will get a translator. You come up here, you find out what you need to find out to make sure because you're raising the next president. This piece here is the last thing that I'm going to say. Life and death of our children lies in our hands. And we cannot do it. You cannot do it. We cannot do it. We all have to do it together. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being present. Thank you for caring so much about your children that you are present today. My only other request from you, other than the things that we have already discussed, is that next time you make sure you not only bring yourself, but you bring those others in your community that are not here. You will only be as strong as your community, and everybody's at different levels. So you're here. A lot of times when I was a principal, the people who I needed to be here, well, they weren't here. The ones that, for the most part, had a lot of it together would be the ones that would always be here. So the onus is on you as a community to reach out to your neighbor and make sure we all collectively because it's going to impact us all. Your kids will be in that community with those other kids. So we might as well get everybody on the same page together.